Hello and welcome to the fourth installment of the Simply Hosted Plus training modules. In the first modules, we've covered just about everything you need to get a system up and running and making calls in and out. One thing we haven't touched on in the first three training modules is provisioning of phones, actual desk phones. We've talked about the call panel and the mobile app. There's a separate video for the desk phone provisioning. If you go to the wiki, CDM is the website that you will use to program both CQ phones and third-party phones, and certainly go ahead and watch that video. And once you've created your extensions, you've done enough to create your templates and to program your phones. Every Simply Hosted Plus system, if you log in down at the bottom, you will find a link for the Cloud Device Manager. That's what CDM stands for. And that's where you'll go ahead and create your templates and assign them to MAC addresses. So I wanted to point that out. At this point, we're going to cover some loose ends, some odds and ends of the training. We've covered just about all the most important things you need to change in a phone system. You don't need to program trunks, you don't need to program outbound routes, and you don't need to program voicemail to email. All that's set for you. One thing we haven't touched on that's important is your E911, especially if your customer has more than one location, more than one address. So the first thing you want to do is just verify that your addresses are correct. You can do that by going to the emergency caller ID. Here you're going to see your callback profiles, and then you're going to see your dispatchable locations. It's important you check these addresses to make sure they're accurate. These will self-populate by CQ. So once we put the information in, you should see it here automatically. If something's wrong, please let us know. The question is then, how do you assign, say the customer has multiple dispatchable locations, how do you assign the correct location to a user? So the way you do that, let's go back to our users. That's what we covered in our first training module. Simply select the user, hit edit, click on the Advanced tab, and if you scroll down, you're going to see emergency calls. It's by default going to use your by default it will use your default. If you want to select something other than what I would call quote unquote the main office, you unselect that, and then you would choose the callback profile and the dispatchable location. So if your client has 4 sites that are all using the same Simply Hosted system, you will see 4 dispatchable locations and most likely 4 callback profiles as well. So simply select the right location and hit apply, and you're all set. So that's certainly important. If your customer only has a single address or a single E911, then you will not have to worry about that. It'll be set up for you. Some other things that I do see users changing on a Simply Hosted that I want to walk you through how to change on a Simply Hosted Plus. Music on hold. The system comes with music on hold for you. You can add additional music on holds for you. And then the nice thing is you can actually also change the volume. So if you add the music on hold, put your MP3 or WAV file, there are some recommendations for size limits. I think it's 80 megs. You can create groups and add multiple songs into the same group. But here, when you add them, you can increase or decrease the volume. And you can even come back and change that. So you can see if I click on this and hit edit, I can change the volume here and apply it. So it's nice that you can choose the volume to begin with, and then if it's not right, you can come back in and change it. The other thing is blocked phone numbers. If your customer wants you to block phone numbers, you can do that as well. You simply add a phone number here, and that will add it to the blocked list. Contact list. The call panel does have the contacts if you're a member, and customers will often ask if you can upload contacts, and yes. So what I would do is I would create a single contact. I would export it. That's going to give you the CSV file. That's going to give you the template. You then take the information from the customer, put in the first name, put in the last name, put in the phone number, and import it back in. And when you import it here, the customer will then see it in the call panel. The other nice thing about the Simply Hosted Plus platform is that it does track changes to the phone system. So if you scroll down and click on Reports, this is going to show you what was changed in the phone system. It's going to show you which user made the change. So you're going to see the username right here, whether it's an end user or a client. A client would be basically you getting there and programming it. So you can do searches here as well, but now you're going to, if something gets changed, you now can go in here and find out or attempt to find out who changed it. The settings tab, there's a lot of various settings here. Time zone, languages, caller ID, all of those are very useful. Preferences is a nice one. You can change how many voicemails, what's the maximum, what's the voicemail limit length. There's all sorts of different settings in here that for preferences, but I did want to show this to you, especially the voicemail. If you want to increase that, you can. And then paging. Paging is something that certainly people use. The setup is very simple. Simply add a page group, give it a name. You do give it a number because most people set up like a BLF key for that paging group. And then you select the extensions that you want to add to the page group, move them over, and create it. Like I did right here for the back garage page group 500. So you would create a BLF key for extension 500. If the customer is looking for information on CDR, that is referred to as call details. So if you go to call details, this is going to show you information. You can do start date, end date, various searches here. So that's also included in the phone system if the customer is looking for information there. All right, this concludes our 4th training module on the Simply Hosted Plus.